Welcome to Soltron. This is an abbrev of Armada or Legacy Armada Megatron. And I also want to show off my display shelf today, even though it's a little incomplete. But yeah, I definitely have thoughts about this guy, especially after watching so many other reviews. Like, obviously, yes, he looks great. He's a great homage to the original figure. The head sculpt is really well done and matches the anime. The He does look off. I think everybody kind of acknowledges there's something about his face that doesn't quite match his on-screen appearance. And I think it's all the area around his face is black when it should be silver, and then his helmet should be black. So I think that makes his face look a lot longer. So I'm going to actually paint that. It should be like a bluish silver like his helmet. So I'm going to actually paint the little face and chin strap part, like the part that's all around his face. I'm going to try painting that silver and see if that makes him look more like the original figure. And then I happen to have the head of the original guy. You can see, like, originally he had a pretty terrible head sculpt. It's very fat, but I'm kind of used to seeing this, and maybe that's why this one looks so wrong to me, because I'm so used to looking at this head, which, like, the colors are wrong, the mouth is weird, it's got a big frowny face. But yeah, I'm just kind of used to this head sculpt. But pretty good head sculpt by Hasbro compared to, like, the third party Fans Hobby Megatron, who had like a terrible head sculpt that just made me not want to get the figure. But yeah, this guy's got I mostly want to review this guy because he's got some problems. Like, most of the reviews are giving him a lot of praise, and then they touch on some of his negatives, but he's got more negatives than most of the reviews I've seen. And I've definitely disappointed now that I have him in hand. I still like him, but there's things I didn't expect to be disappointed by that I'm very disappointed by. So, like, first off, this tank turret, nobody tells you in the reviews this is made of rubber. This is not plastic. So this feels kind of like an eraser. It's not that soft, but this is rubber. This is not plastic, which really disappoints me, especially for a leader class figure. I just really hate rubber parts. I always have. So yeah, you can just peg that on there. But yeah, rubber. And then his antenna, which nobody I've seen in a review talk about, these are also rubber, which, okay, I can kind of understand for his antenna because these are thin pieces, but I still find that very annoying. And then it is also annoying that he's got these hollow gaps. Like, these are really ugly. For a leader class figure to have these in his forearms, that's pretty shabby. Like, that's really not acceptable. And then the other issue is these terrible shoulders where you can't even move the arms up and down without the shoulders just doing this. Like, that's awful. That's really not okay. And especially, the other dumb thing about this is these shoulder flaps in the front, which you need to open to get his arm to move forward. These are very tight, and these are actually detented. So they go like here, they go 45 degrees, and then they go 0 degrees. These have detents in them. Why? Why doesn't this have a detent to help hold it in place? Why would you design it that way? And these flaps are actually very annoying because when I do want to move his arm forward, you need to torque this pretty hard to open these flaps just to get him to move his arm forward. So it's not effortless. These should be really loose and just floppy so you can move his arm in and out and they just kind of like fall back down. But instead we get the loose and floppy joints on his shoulders here. That makes no sense. And then these are, again, detented. Why? Why would you do that and make it so hard to just move his arm forward? Like, I can't even move this with one finger, but I can easily move this with one finger. That takes nothing. But this, I can't even open this flap. It's too hard. It's too stiff. I even loosened the screws and that did nothing. Like, this is insane. Like, that should have never even passed like the quality check. And then another thing I wish they would have done was made his chest like come out a little bit, because especially from the side, he just looks like nothing, just like the original figure. His chest has to be flat so the tank doesn't like scrape along the chest. But the other poor move that people have mentioned in the reviews is that, like, this faceplate, you have to flip it up, even though there's clearly like a sliding mechanism from the original figure where it just slid up and gave him like a battle mask, which was really cool. They could have easily done that, but instead they give you this, and then when you cover his face, it does not look like a battle mask. But if you had a slider, you could half slide it and you would have a cool battle mask, but you can't do that anymore. So bad move there, and you can see I already popped out this pin a little bit. And that's so I can just pull off his chest, because I think what they should have done, which made sense to me, is if they put like a double joint here, so like the chest, when it's in vehicle mode, maybe like comes up a little bit, and then you use this double joint, and that way when he's in robot mode, his chest can actually stick out and be three-dimensional. So that's a mod I'm definitely going to do in addition to painting his face silver, so you can see how that turns out in the next couple of weeks or so. But yeah, it would have been nice if they just put that extra joint, and then his chest could stick out a little bit and he can not look so flat. That would have been an easy thing to make his transformation a little bit more complicated, because basically they didn't change anything from the original figure. He's still almost exactly the same. Yeah, like the original figure could do this. It had this elbow joint. I think he had biceps. Maybe he didn't. He did have some lost articulation. He definitely didn't have knees. So it's nice they included those. But for a $50 figure, I'm disappointed. We don't have any outward hip. This is barely strong enough to hold. There's no ratchets there. And then the ratchets, and then you get soft ratchets here. And the ratchets that are in this guy are pretty garbage ratchets. These don't feel... These are just friction ratchets, which are like one part basically that just rubs on these gears until it eventually wears down. Instead of spring ratchets, it's pretty cheap. And then the old figure used to have nice spring ratchets here. And then as I watched in one review, I didn't even realize this, but another annoying thing is his arm can't even rotate backwards because of the way that his shoulder's designed. So he actually cannot like reach behind him or do any poses where his arms are behind him. So that definitely makes him a little bit more stiff. So he is missing some basic articulation that all the other figures have. So I think those are all my negatives, which is kind of a lot. But outside of that, I do love this figure. It is exactly what I wanted. I always wanted to customize one of these so he had good articulation, and now I don't have to, so that's nice. So they do fix that. The other annoying kind of thing is that these leader class figures are too small still. Like, I do have... It's nice that we're filling out the Armada line or the Unicron trilogy, because that was my favorite time frame. And in fact, Armada Megatron was my first Armada figure that I bought, him in Demolisher. And I just really loved the new design, because I never really liked G1, but the new like anime kind of style. Let's see. I've also got, just for like comparison from the old days, this is how big a leader class figure used to be. He's a little bit bigger because I gave him like ankles, because I always wanted to customize one of these guys and I just never quite got it right. But yeah, that's how big leader class figures used to be. And I think they were like $50 before inflation. So I think probably now they'd be like $65, $70. But I mean, that guy, it's just such a big difference. They just look like MP style. And then if maybe I can get them all the same size. All right, there we go with some forced perspective. So now they're all about the same size. I am kind of excited for them to make a new Galaxy Force or Cybertron Megatron. That was actually my favorite design, even though he looks like a clown. I still really like it. But yeah, it's nice to have the Armada Megatron, and then maybe someday they'll do Energon. I could see why they wouldn't. It's not a very good line. Okay, and then real fast, here's his alt mode. Yeah, it's great. It definitely hits all those same buttons. It definitely triggers that nostalgia of the original figure with his dumb like pincer trap head just sticking out the front there. It would have been nice if they include his minicon, especially since they're doing that now. That was kind of a big missed opportunity that should have been included, especially because this is a leader class figure. and he's kind of small. All right, so here's my display cabinet. I've updated it since the last time I showed it off, like a year and a half ago. It's been a while. Um, so I built this cabinet myself. It was pretty easy. I just measured everything out so that to the size of these acrylic sheets. So it didn't take too long, and now I've installed some LED lighting on it, which has been really nice for these lighting strips. But basically, yeah, we've got all these shelves. And then at the very bottom, it's where my like DVDs and my Nintendo Switch games are. But you can see like our first shelf, our first layer is the I don't even know what to call this, like the non-G1 Transformers shelf. There's like no G1 characters here anymore. I think I'm just kind of done with G1. I do have like a G2 Quake. I guess Overlord, he's like G1. I guess he counts. But yeah, this is pretty much everything except for like the standard figures. And of course, once I get my Armada Optimus Prime, he's going to be in the middle there with Megatron. But yeah, I wanted to make like a Unicron kind of shelf. And then I think, yeah, it's just cool seeing Armada Megatron next to Tidal Wave. I really get a kick out of that. And then if we move down to our next shelf, this is where we got, I switched this out a little bit, but still got like an Earth Granner figure in there representing. I still think that's a good series, and I wish it didn't die in its first season. And then we get the metal card bot figures, which I think are pretty epic. So I'm hoping they just keep pumping those out. I really enjoy that series. And then, yeah, eventually I want to make a new shelf for all my Shin-Kalion figures because I don't really have space for them to like have their own spot. And then if we just keep going down, and here we have my, this shelf has got a lot going on. So it's Mini Force all on the right side. And then we got like some custom Zoids, Beast Wars figures. We got a lot of those going on. And then just the regular Beast Wars figures, but like a lot of the Zoids I keep in here. So this is my like Beast Wars kind of shelf. And then my final shelf here is like my Tobot combiners, and then like all the mini Tobot figures, which I think scale like really well with the combiners. So I really enjoy that. And then we have like just one random Power Rangers figure. So we got combiners, Voltron, of course. So this is kind of like a miscellaneous shelf. And then Gao Gaigar. I definitely want Gao Gaigar to be with the Shin-Kalion figures. So I think I'm going to have to make a new shelf. Maybe one that's only 2 tiers high this time. And I'm going to put all my Power Rangers figures because I want to get some more like the old guys that I used to have. I want to rebuy them. And then I want, yeah, I want some space for the Shin-Kalion figures.